Hello guys and gals, me Mutahar, and today's video is going to be a bit of a heavy subject matter. So before we jump in completely, obviously with the title, you obviously know something is pretty wild at Twitch. Now, this is in regards to serious world-shattering events that, again, I'm not an expert in, so I'm going to kind of tread lightly in this situation, explain and discuss things that I reasonably can. But if you want to dive away from heavy stuff and you want to stick to something a little bit more, lighthearted, then, tomorrow I'm probably going to be releasing another deep web video, so get excited for that one. We're looking at a lot of wild websites. And if you want to, look at things like LSD Dream Emulator, maybe some more creepypasta stuff, because I'm going back to that. This week is probably going to be a fun week for some of you guys watching Some Ordinary Gamers. A lot of callback to older content that I did and I want to be doing going forward. But this is one of those videos where I've seen it mentioned on the actual Reddit. So if you know that we have the Some Ordinary Gamer subreddit, and one of the top posts was, stuff about Asmongold the last couple days. So, these were pretty highly viewed posts on my subreddit, and they were ones where it kind of dominated the entire community for a little bit. So obviously, it's one of those things where I kind of want to jump into it because the rabbit hole that I've went down has shown me just how wild and insane Twitch, if not the entire internet, is effectively becoming. So to give you an idea, Asmongold, a couple days ago, made some rather inflammatory statements that got his account banned for 14 days. Now, the statements in particular I'm going to play, and obviously, I just want to preface, Zach Asmongold has pretty much walked these things back and, has apologized for it, but to show you exactly what triggered a entire giant domino effect on Twitch, we're going to play this clip right here and kind of touch upon it briefly.
If you want to consider a genocide as a systematic killing of a group of people, they have genocide built into Sharia law right now. So no, I'm not going to cry a river when people who have genocide that's baked into their laws are getting genocided. I don't give a They're terrible people. It's not even a question.
So to cut the whole clip off over here real quick, obviously this kind of inflamed individuals because Zach was referring to Muslims, specifically from what I understand Palestinians at the time, when asked to talk about a conflict like this. Now, obviously, Zach was one of those people that said, weird as fuck to see many people coming out with statements about this conflict as if they need to comment on it. Can we stop this weird culture around expecting people with no relevant backgrounds or educations to talk about world events / politics? And I actually agree 100% on that. It's one of the reasons why I don't really go into these topics, because I'm a fat Indian guy whose background is computer science and cybersecurity. That's all I know, okay? That's where I come down to. It's either that or playing video games. I'm not a global expert on anything, which is why I really don't talk about these situations. So obviously Asmongold walked it back, apologized, and said, my bad. Of course, no one deserves to have their life destroyed, even if they do things, or have views I find regressive. So in this situation, one could, if they were to extend the charitability, could say that Asmongold was probably referring to extremists in the Islamic religion and their view on people in the LGBTQ camp, all right? As you all know, religious fundamentalists, whether you're in Islam or any religion, probably don't take too kindly to people that are gay, and that's probably what Asmongold was going for. Now, obviously, his idea of conflating this was probably not the smartest way to handle the situation, and that's pretty much how the situation ended up going. Now, he earned himself a 14-day ban, and what this did was basically show people that, hey, listen, this is wild stuff being said. This is some insane shit going on Twitch. But down the road on Twitch, there were plenty of other commentators known as Hassan Piker, and a few people in the politics sphere that basically showed that there is kind of a double standard in how Twitch enforces its actual, TOS. So a couple, days ago, if not a day ago, it turned out that Twitch was apparently banning accounts from Israel from actually signing up. When making an account from Israel on Twitch, it apparently ended up being where Twitch provided one error into its site code where it said, oops, we encountered an unexpected error. 2023 was the error code, and the code was blocked country IP. So this apparently ended up being addressed by Twitch. This was brought forward by Destiny and his co-host on his podcast, where they basically said, we wanted to address concerns we've seen about whether we're preventing Twitch account signups in some regions. When signing up for a Twitch account, you can select an account verification method, email or phone, for added protection. Following the October 7, 2023 attacks, we temporarily disabled signups with email verification in Israel and Palestine. Now, obviously, wild stuff indeed. But why did they do it? We did this to prevent uploads of graphic material related to the attack and to protect the safety of users. It's interesting how the site specifically picked this geolocated region in specific, especially when this wasn't enacted during Ukraine and Russia, or really any country that is still currently actively at war right now as we speak, okay? But anyways, to go further in, signups were not disabled, and we continued to see signups from both regions. Users could choose to sign up with phone verification. We've learned that inadvertently, we did not re-enable email verification signups for either region. Now, they've been community noted where they said even signups were impossible when using a phone number. So we deeply regret this unacceptable miss and the confusion it has caused. We fixed this issue, meaning all affected users can sign up with email verification. We've also heard concerns about whether our community guidelines apply to all content on our service, and we continue to enforce our rules as consistently as possible and are actively reviewing content and taking enforcement action whenever needed. Now, this last paragraph might be the biggest fucking sack of shit I have ever read from a company like this in my entire time on the internet. But to give you an idea, this was not like a VPN block or something of that nature. This was actual written into code, a geo-block of an entire region. So why would Twitch decide to ban Israel of all countries, especially after all of this has happened, from producing accounts and signing up to their service? It just doesn't make any sense. Well, since then, a fair amount of clips have come out that have addressed some individuals on Twitch promoting some rather wild thoughts. So we're going to go down the clip rampage and just go through some of the wildest shit people have been digging out from Twitch. Now, CEO Dan Clancy comes out and says, we just posted an explanation of what happened. We're very sorry about the oversight. It only came to our attention today. As mentioned in the tweet, it did not affect people using mobile phone verification. Now, what's really interesting about this whole situation is when somebody like Dan Clancy says, oh, wow, we just found it out now. There was actually a small movement known as Baluat Twitch from actual Israeli content creators where they actually brought this situation up. They dug into the inspect element, they dug into the console for their web browser, and right over here it said it gave the same thing, error 2023, blocked country IP. So when people started to email them around, right, Twitch support was like, hey, I'm really sorry that you're having issues creating an account. We reviewed your case thoroughly and confirmed, unfortunately, you are not eligible to create a Twitch account. So nowhere did they say use a cell phone number, not an email. That wasn't brought up. And then, of course, the further you dig out into it, one of the receipts that I saw posted was one from the Twitch user voice, where apparently a certain idea was deleted. That idea in particular was in response to you can't create an account in the region of Israel or Palestine. So, again, it's a geo-block, it seems, of the area, allegedly. I agree, we're also people. You cannot make us not watch our favorite streamers just because we are from Israel-Palestine. So, insane shit to be fucking seeing. You know, at one point, you get this piece of shit CEO that comes out and tells you, yeah, we only found out about it. I mean, again, it's just a blatant lie. So why the fuck would you need to lie? If anything, that just makes me more like, it just aggravates anybody watching this because you feel talked down to, you feel mocked at the end of the day, and it's such a condescending way to communicate to people that can easily counter you in about 5 minutes. Honestly, if you really think about it, this rule actually hurt Gazans more than it ever would have hurt Israelis, because as geo-block, if it targeted that region, you know, if you wanted to allow people to document and live stream the real atrocities that are occurring to them in that region, you know, Palestinians could have used a platform to showcase themselves. In reality, it shows how borderline, it shows how stupid Twitch can be. In them trying to, I guess, protect people, they inadvertently limited people's, ability to express and produce content that could actually be eye-opening to a lot of people who don't know about the situation beyond what they read on the internet and through their feeds. But Dan Clancy is somebody that literally allows this site to foster some of the wildest shit you'll ever hear. Now, there's a website known as danclancysucks.com, where it goes through a treasure trove of some of the most popular streamers on the site. One of the most popular political streamer, Hassan Piker, and of course several of his, people in his camp, like Frogan, or really any of these other, political people, these political slop creators. And again, I highly do mention the word slop. I know that people would say that, Muda, you make slop, Pyrocynical makes slop, Charlie makes slop, lots of people make slop. Now, I would say that in terms of political content creators, the kind of stuff and clips that I've heard are some of the most inflammatory shit that I have seen. And it comes from people that really have no understanding about what they're talking about. But Twitch has allowed a platform where you can just say whatever you want to say with no actual repercussion, provided your politics are on their side. Similar to how Twitter or really any other form of social media kind of handles it. If you condemn Twitter for how they portray certain things on the internet or how, toxic their platform can get, you also have to actually condemn Twitch, or really any platform for that matter. So, for instance, according to Twitch and their community guidelines, if you go down to, actual civility and respect, hateful conduct, Twitch aims to be a place where everyone can come together and share community experiences. So what they say is Twitch does not permit behavior that is motivated by hatred, prejudice, or intolerance, including behavior that promotes or encourages discrimination, denigration, harassment, or violence based on the following protected characteristics. So those characteristics are race, ethnicity, color, caste, national origins, immigration status, religion, sex, gender, gender identity, orientation, disability, serious medical condition, and veteran status. So, because Twitch said, oh, we like to enforce our shit very equally, listen to what one of Twitch's political streamers has to say. This is Frogan coming at you with the dumbest shit that I've heard in a while.
I have no pity at all for any soldiers. Distress, thank you so much. I will never have any pity for any soldiers. U.S. military? Boo fucking who? I hope you get PTSD. I do, the ones I'm like whatever about the U.S. soldiers are the ones that acknowledge that what they did was wrong. They didn't know back then. Whatever. You're a good person in my book. I'm like a Tom. Thank you so much for the 10 gifted. So the U.S. military that are I did this back then, but now I know it's wrong. I'm changed. Imperialism. This. You don't deserve the PTSD. But any other motherfucker, you're joining them. You're like, oh my god, I want my Camaro, no student loans. F you. I hope you get PTSD. And I hope you get no health insurance when you get back in America.
Oh, how out of touch do you gotta be? How privileged do you gotta be to sit there on your ass in California and just badmouth the people that take a bullet for your freedoms every single day? The most outrageous shit you'll ever hear. Downright, just hateful rhetoric. Now, obviously, the people who are in the military were like, whoa, we're getting that Camaro. I have never in a million years met somebody, and I've met plenty of friends, friends who are actually active military, people that are retired military at this point. They've done their careers. People that have played video games who've told me about their stories. Never once have I ever heard people jump into the Army for that free, juicy Camaro. Ooh. Maybe the student loans, and as somebody that, at the time, financially speaking, I needed money for school, I probably would have joined the Canadian Air Force, out of a patriotic duty, but also because, you sign a bond with them, you work in the military, you get your school paid for, good schooling, and that's kind of how things, go. It's a deal you end up making. I think a lot of people that join the military who are these cogs in the machine that you'd be so willing to say, yeah, I hope you get PTSD if you're not, this reformed person that, has to bend the knee constantly because of your service to your country. Yeah, I think those people are usually in the military out of necessity or, at some point they need a career. They need to join something. And the military is a great provider of it. The military also produces a lot of those same technologies you use to stream your nonsense garbage on the internet. They do a lot more than just this imperialism that she, likes to throw around. There is very valid criticisms you can make of the U.S. military, but I think going after the cogs in the machine, the people that are the grunts, the foot soldiers, is just insane. This kind of rhetoric doesn't really bring anyone together. If anything, all it does is just sow more discord and, sow more issues amongst people who are already facing a lot of issues right now, people who are already so divided.
You know, this kind of rhetoric doesn't really, portray anything. She might think this is based, but at the end of the day, it's just literally cowardice behavior that, you're displaying from the internet. You're not really actually providing any solution. You're just sitting over there wishing that people who literally fight for your freedoms every day would get probably the worst post-traumatic stress disorder or mental illnesses because of their service. I mean, honestly, if you were a serviceman and you heard this shit, I would actually understand if you probably regretted your service afterwards, or if you actually question your patriotism. If these are the actual, people that you're fighting for, the people that you're, hoping live their freedoms, right? In the manner that they have become so accustomed to and, have literally taken for granted. It's just hateful shit that she's spouting, and realistically, it just comes from this very one-sided view of the army, or really your country. It feels like a lot of the extreme leftists on the internet have literally just amounted to their policy being America bad, and realistically never really looking at any of these things from a nuanced perspective. On a side note, I also love how these people talk about getting universal health care for people, which is genuinely a cool thing to see people actually, live and not be indebted to the medical industry of the United States because they happen to get sick or go through something serious. No, your medical rights are only really present as long as you share your political views with us. I mean, how fucking backwards, out of touch bullshit is this when you got to hear it, right? It's like, I hope you get PTSD and I hope America doesn't pay for your medical stuff. I mean, they're military people. If you had any basic understanding, they probably have earned, their medical protections because of the service that they've offered. Just insane stuff to see.
Now, will Twitch ban this person for, their obvious, obvious hateful conduct on the site? Probably not. They're just walking around completely free. It's insane shit. It's a laissez-faire attitude. Now, obviously, after some backlash, this complete dipshit comes out and goes, I realize that wishing people harm isn't the best way to talk about these issues. Really? Really? Wow! And these people are supposed to be the fucking intellectual bastions on the internet. Really? You think that being hateful isn't going to attract people? Whoa, hold on a minute. You're telling me that it's easier to attract people with honey than vinegar? Say it ain't so, Chief. That's wild shit. Now, going down further into this specific cretin, one thing that really came out wild was this TwitchCon sponsored event. Now, this is 3 weeks ago, so this is very recent. Like, this is, again, very much in Twitch's line. So she posts this clip or video. It's like, how Arab are these Twitch streamers, right? So live at TwitchCon, and if you actually watch the content over here, you'll see that they're pretty much sponsored by Chevron, okay, Samsung, Capcom. They got some pretty big sponsors right over here, insane stuff. So if you look at the actual tier list, you can see that Arab streamers, S, Hassan Piker, funny, the Turkish guy is on the Arab list, all right. Then you've got AB, the actual Arabs. And then, of course, on the F tier, this is where it gets interesting. You've got Ethan Klein and Ben Shapipo. So at this point, we reach all right, S is good. S is good tier. A and B are not as good as S, but it's there. F tier, that tier just gives me the heebie-jeebies. The Jews? Ooh, boy, oh boy. So when you actually watch the clip and you look at this tier list that they're doing, it's insane because at the top, they've got the Arab, they've got Arab coded, they've asked perms, thinks it's a slur, and then the words love Sabra. Now, Sabra apparently in their eyes is they're referring to a brand of hummus that exists in Israel that is basically in part of a boycott. Now, Sabra also translates to Israeli Jew or Jew born in Israel. So realistically, if we're gonna use the terminology that these people politically like to use, this is what we consider a dog whistle, okay? Because in reality, this is what they're actually going for. I mean, the thumbnail that I showed you, and again, these are the same people that judged me based on the thumbnail that I used for the Keffels video. So to give you a quick idea to understand, putting two Jews in the F tier kind of gives you an idea of where they're at. Arab being at the top, Jew being at the bottom, okay? See, I can look at this and immediately understand that this is most definitely designed to be hateful rhetoric, right? No matter how you want to cut and slice it, if I had done this, or anybody had done this, or people who are opposed politically to these people would do it, they would say that this is hateful conduct. This is literally hateful conduct occurring on the platform. Now, will Twitch punish the accounts responsible for that kind of display of idiocy on the platform? No. Will Twitch do any? No, they basically won't. Now, I want to shift attention to Twitch's biggest political streamer, Hasan Piker. Now, Hasan, in the last, I want to say a couple of weeks, has basically been exposing people to wild shit. Now, if you watch, some of his streams, he's sitting with another actual streamer, and when you watch it, he's literally walking away and, playing literal, terror propaganda, actual terror, music videos to, random creators. Now, if I was to do this on YouTube or really any other platform, or even Twitch, I would actually be expecting a ban. You know, about a year or two ago, I was actually assisting a couple smaller YouTubers who basically had memes where they had, literal actual, meme channels where they had, actual, I think it was, ISIS music, and YouTube, immediately after detecting it, completely demonetized accounts. In some cases, they would actually remove videos or even ban people because YouTube went through a serious apocalypse in regarding this. And obviously, I think most platforms understand that, highlighting illegal criminal organizations, they don't even have to be terrorists. They can be literal criminal gangs. If you're out there promoting the Hells Angels or you're promoting the Mexican drug cartels, you would probably get a serious ban. But in this situation, Twitch's largest political streamer, left-wing political streamer, can just fucking outright, promote this kind of stuff on the platform. And it's not even just that. It gets to a point where, imagine being a political streamer and you bring a actual pirate, a actual criminal onto your streams. And instead of, being respectful and being a proper journalist, you get on your knees and suck their dick for about 32 minutes. Watch this clip.
They win over the crews on these ships, and they win them over with their charm, and they make them hate America and the U.S. government.
That's so funny. Think about China. Does he know anything about China?
He's saying he hasn't spent much time with Chinese people, but one of the captain was Chinese, and he did qat with them, and he danced some music with them, and he was vibing. So he likes them, yeah.
So what? That's so crazy. So they're just fucking chilling with the captains? I don't understand.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate that we're talking about somebody that has been taken hostage who, quote unquote, is being chilled with. And again, this is just right on Twitch.
America's America's blowing them up while they're just doing cat and fucking chilling with the captains. How does he feel about that? Isn't that crazy? I don't know how to describe.
Now, these clips were seen 8 months ago on Willie Mack's channel, but you can watch this video right now. Hasan will sit there and hypebeast these people without any care in the world. This man does not critically apply any form of journalism. He is just showing these people and promoting them in this incredibly positive light when there are actually just pirates and terrorists who are putting people in harm's way, especially people that have nothing to do with the Israeli conflict in general. So again, if you want to check it out, Willie Mack's video is great. He covers this topic. I would highly recommend you see this to see actual proper journalism and an actual proper objective coverage of the situation.
So he brings this kid on and basically, talks about One Piece. They have a whole gag and everything. And the thing about this kid is, obviously, if you know him, this guy is an influencer called Timothy Chalamet. Okay, so the Houthi movement, basically a movement where, again, this kid is part of a piracy organization, where you can see him literally on actual captured vessels. It's not something that's a hidden secret. He brought this guy on and basically popularized him. Now, before people in the Hasan camp go, but Muda, this kid has seen only suffering his entire life. So obviously, he's going to be part of these situations. And, you're being a little bit harsh. Now, I am one of those people that is empathetic towards individuals, and obviously if this kid has only ever seen death and destruction in his entire life because of the Saudi-Yemen conflict, then yes, I can understand why they would do such a thing, but never in a million years should you as a content creator or a journalist, I guess, or a political commentator ever bring somebody on and kind of popularize these things, okay? These people are ultimately part of a criminal operation, an enterprise, a terrorist movement that shouldn't be glorified. And it's not similar to interviewing Bin Laden back in 1997 with CNN. These are situations where even back then, these were interviews done respectfully, and it wasn't in a way to glorify anybody who was part of a seriously criminal operation that isn't designated just by one country, but by a consortium of countries, even countries that are diametrically opposed to each other, politically. These are actual interviews that people do with criminals as a way to get multiple sides of a story. It's not meant to glorify somebody or glorify their cause as something just.
You know, in a way, it's like presenting people like Sneeko or Andrew Tate, who I've made videos on in the past. It's like if I promote them or talk about them on my channel, it's usually with a very objective view. It's usually with a very careful view where obviously if they promote bad ideologies, right, like hatred or bigotry, it's about sitting there and deconstructing it with actual facts and logic instead of, you know, sitting down and kind of, you know, hype beasting it to the point where you're normalizing it to a whole bunch of communities, right? You know, it's like hosting a neo-Nazi on your actual channel and not combating them on their terrible beliefs or their violent or extremist beliefs, right? You have to be able to counter these people if you're willing to platform them. Otherwise, they just have a free speaker to operate their, you know, shitty beliefs over. And these are things that, again, no matter which side of the political spectrum you fall onto, I would imagine political content creators would be a bit more careful than even average YouTubers. If you got people like me who are just engineers and computer scientists that know better and know how to actually handle these facts, then these people are complete buffoons that shouldn't be operating in this field of content in the first place.
Now, that same guy that Hasan was kind of sucking the dick off basically was out there posting the executions we will carry out on all Zionists in this situation. Now, one could sit down and probably say, yeah, he's probably talking about, you know, just Zionists, not Jews in specific. But, you know, looking into this person and the Houthi movement and the group in particular, you know, the idea of anti-Zionism is also conflated with, like, anti-Semitism in this situation as well. It's just more hateful rhetoric that is being constantly pushed down anyone's feet. I think hate from any angle is bad. But this guy is not necessarily any innocent, you know, party. Now, obviously, Twitch, you know, who is in such a weird state right now, has decided to let this guy constantly stream and, from what I understand, even unban the account, to which he's an actual streamer on Twitch right now.
This entire conversation is fucking idiotic. It's not a Jewish person. He said, this is, I think if we're, why am I held accountable for some random fucking...
Because you platformed him. How fucking hard is that? You're the one that put him on your channel unapologetically and then memed with him about One Piece. Didn't ask him one single critical question. That's you. You did that. I'm criticizing you. You're not accountable for him. You're accountable for yourself.
Now, honestly, that's probably the best way to put it. Thank you, Ethan Klein, for saying it like that. And, you know, at the end of the day, it kind of almost harkens back to, again, hey, listen, if you're going to put somebody on your channel, you really should be able to counter them on their terrible beliefs. You know, these are the same people that would say if you have like 10 people at a table and one of them are Nazis and you're not countering that Nazi on his terrible beliefs, then congratulations, you have 10 Nazis at that table. You know, these are the same people that would say it, and I feel like you should hold people to that same accountability. And honestly, if you come across violent or hateful rhetoric, you should be combating it. Like, you 100% should.
What's even fucking wild is when discussing this person in a very recent interview with Asmongold, like when they were talking about why Asmongold had his, like, wild takes. This is what Hasan had to say about that pirate. Watch this.
We're not like, oh, you're trans, we're going to kill you. They were like, oh, thank you for your fucking humanitarian aid. They don't give a shit. Like, it's the same as any other kind of person. I talked to a teenager from Yemen, okay, who everyone called, myself included, called Timothy Charlemagne or Chalamet.
Is that the One Piece one?
Yeah, exactly. Now this kid is like, I think he was like 19 at the time when I talked to him, which means that for most of his life he has withstood genocide, right?
Sure.
Like he is a person whose only experience is like, it's literally like talking to fucking Anne Frank, basically.
Oh, yeah. You know, where's that part of Anne Frank's diary when she was also raiding ships? Like, these are things where, again, yes, in one way, Hasan is kind of like this weird hyperbolic individual where, like, he'll, you know, he has, like, kind of a point. Both these people are young. They've seen death and destruction their entire life. And you can almost empathize with somebody who is doing a bad thing, is part of a terrible movement, is part of a terrible group that is actually committing crimes. And you can understand why they do it because of the, you know, world that they've lived in. But then to compare it to like Anne Frank, who, you know, again, is a pacifist in comparison, is just insane shit. And it's weird because, like, you know, it's in one of these situations where when it comes to like people like Hasan, you know, we've had him on like the podcast, the Some Ordinary Podcast, one of the first actual, like, you know, big guests. And on that show, what's insane to me is like, look, people like Frogan, people like Asmongold, I would say that they're pretty stupid in understanding these situations. I'm stupid. Hasan, however, is not. This guy knows better. Yet he just purposefully goes and obfuscates things like this. It's insane. Now, again, I don't want to jump and make this like a super political video because, again, I'm not equipped to even discuss this kind of stuff, but I am somebody that has basically been seeing a lot of this, like, you know, insane side of the internet effectively take over and become so normalized. Now, in the situation, you know, like I've said before, and I've been clipped a few times, and, you know, even when I stream, you know, videos do get uploaded of my takes on situations that I feel like I need to clarify. I'm not somebody that is afraid to say that genocide is wrong. I think that there is an actual case of, you know, genocide, and there's an actual case of attack that goes towards the Palestinian people. I think there's very serious situations that go around the world. Now, at the same time, these are situations that involve, you know, a group of people, Muslims and Jews, that have effectively been at each other's throats for not just decades, but hundreds of years. It's why when I talk about these situations in a nuanced conflict, I say that, listen, you are talking about hundreds of years of, like, just institutional dislike between each other. If you've ever grown up Muslim, and I have, then you know that there is a serious culture of anti-Semitism, you know, in amongst the most conservative of Muslim circles. Just as you will know that there is a serious amount of Islamophobia in the most right-wing of Jewish circles. These are two groups of people that literally are just fighting each other. And it's not going to change until, like, the youth grow up and realize that this kind of hatred towards each other doesn't really meld well. And when it comes to people dying in a conflict zone like Gaza right now, there is literally nothing that I feel other than sadness for men, women, and children needlessly dying for no reason. It's why that, you know, time and time again, I donate as much as I can to aid. You know, even going, you know, like tens of thousands of dollars just to make sure that people who need medical assistance, and I vet my charities the best that I can to assist people in really shitty situations. I don't make it a big deal to talk about it because I don't think donating money should be constantly promoted in the sense that, you know, are you really doing it to help people, or are you doing it to make yourself look better in the eyes of the world? But it's the tiniest thing that I can do in order to make sure that, you know, maybe somebody who needs medical assistance in a part of the world where they literally can, you know, literally it is one of the most, like, sought after needs, can get some attention. And it's one conflict that I hope before I die, things can kind of change. Now, ultimately, I really do think that Twitch is fucking cooked when it comes to this kind of stuff. The clips that I've seen the last few days have been downright disgusting to witness. One of the things that I noticed on my phone, and my wife actually saw this too, was I opened up the health app on my phone. And I guess I did a questionnaire. And inside my questionnaire, I was actually, like, diagnosed. Well, I wouldn't say diagnosed, but the questionnaire rated me as moderately severe to depression. And I don't recall myself ever being in that route or in that stage. There was a video that a creator I respect, known as Jacksepticeye, made a couple days ago titled Help, where he talked about the internet and toxicity, and most importantly, the mental health associated with it. Now, I think the world's a bad place. You know, I know that I put a lot of smiles on things. I know that I laugh a lot, and you know, I really do try to put, like, the best smile forward, okay? My goal is to make you laugh. My goal is to make people smile and be happy. But I do sometimes believe the world is a bad place. And I think a lot of the social media platforms like Twitch, like Twitter, like a lot of these places have promoted the most insane rhetoric, like this hateful rhetoric, rage bait, actual toxic content. And it's done nothing but throw people down a shit rabbit hole. When I look at Asmongold's, like, you know, statements that he made a few days ago, it reminds me of growing up as a kid. You know, post 9/11. You know, that level of, you know, Islamophobia, I guess, if one wants to say it. It's not something that I have not seen, you know, before. I've seen tons of people hate for no reason. I've seen tons of people bring up this divide. And I don't know what the solution to it, but it really has brought me back to realizing what I like the most about my channel. I don't want to kind of make any more of this kind of content covering these kind of people. This will probably be the last time that I ever want to aim making this kind of content or discussing these kind of things. But I think it's an important discussion to have. no matter where you stand on these situations, you can call me a fence sitter or like, fucking centrist or whatever the hell. But I really do think that no matter what side you're on, no matter what your beliefs are, any hateful rhetoric like this shouldn't be tolerated by anybody on the platform. It really shouldn't. Because if you want to talk about dividing people and keeping hate alive, it's literally this rhetoric that keeps us going. It's this kind of negativity on the internet, and this kind of negativity that people like, I think, Hassan, Frogan, and Sneeko and all these people promote, that I really think should be avoided. This kind of doomer stuff is stuff that really shouldn't. I feel like the more people that consume it, the more they fall down into this rabbit hole, and the worse it really ends up being for them mentally. Look, at the end of the day, for my channel, I'm some ordinary gamers. And, I like to make a community that involves everyone to be a part of it. One of the things I like about video games is, growing up, playing them online, the anonymity has always really stripped away these immutable characteristics. And that would be race, religion, identity. And because of the anonymity that online gaming has really provided, or really this community, whether you be on like a message board talking about Shin Megami Tensei or really any random game, you strip away those immutable characteristics and you realize at the end of the day, all human beings really are the same people. You bleed the same. If my body was chopped in half, I would look the same inside as anybody else, regardless of their immutable characteristics. Hanging on to these constant hateful rhetorics on the internet is what's ultimately causing us a divide. And I think it's what causes us to be so separated and distrustful. To look at Jacksepticeye's video, it's not that the internet has become more hateful. It's that a lot of this hateful rhetoric that, people are promoting on the platforms, it used to be something that you would see on like a random message board or some fringe website on the internet. But to see the kind of clips that we saw today exist on the front page of Twitch, Reddit, most of the mainstream social media platforms, it might be what's contributing to the worst humanity is kind of seeing. I uninstalled Twitter and left it because of how weird it got on the platform, and it's probably been the best for my mental health. And, to see on Twitch the kind of rhetoric being promoted that is from the other opposite political end, when you're talking about service operators getting PTSD, when you're talking about promoting hateful terrorist music videos to like random individuals, these are things that probably should exist in Clown World, but they exist in actual reality. I'm sure that I'm probably going to have a pretty divisive comment section going down into this video, and I'm kind of interested in reading it, but to going forward, this is my last time I really want to make content ever covering this kind of stuff. And I pledge, at least for the remainder of my time here on YouTube, I want to go back to I really want to just do a deep web video now every week, because things were a lot more simpler when I was reading through fucking goofy shit on the internet. I really want to play some random PS2 games, and I think I'm just going to do that this week, and the next week, and the week after that. But yeah, this is me, Mutahar, and I'm not going to ask you to like this video, comment, or dislike, or subscribe, or anything of that nature. But I do want you guys to think about the content you're consuming, and the kinds of people that, are on these platforms, especially Twitch. Anyways, I'm out.